Hey guys, it's Charlene. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season. I'm excited to be back and to share with you some cards I made using some of the new release from Fawn. These are super cute, so I hope you enjoy this. I'm starting out here with the Falling Hearts Stencils. This is a layering stencil set, but you could use one or both depending on kind of what look you're going for. I'm starting out here with some Spun Sugar Distress ink, and I'm just making sure to get a nice solid coating of ink, and then I'm going to switch to the second stencil and I'm going to use some Kitsch Flamingo. So that way I have two different colors of pink hearts falling down on the front of this card. I really like how these two colors of pink go together. They are just a nice light and dark pink combination, especially for a more Valentine's Day-y kind of card, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to come around the edges here with some of that spun sugar, and I'm just lightly starting out off of the paper, and I'm bringing my brush onto it in circular motions. That way I'm not going to get any hard edge lines, and I'm just going to go all the way around. And then once I have kind of the color that I want, the amount that I want, I'm going to swirl all the way around, and this is going to give me a nice halo effect. Next, I'm going to be using the Giant Outlined Love Ya die, which I love this die. You're going to see I use it on both cards. So I've cut it out from white cardstock and from pink cardstock, and then I'm going to use that pink layer as my border. So once I have it covered up with the inked panel, you can't even tell that I used that large die to cut out a heart from it. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside of my card with the cute little sentiment, and this I think is going to go to my husband. We'll see, for Valentine's Day. It's just adorable. I love this little stamp set. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue that whole panel down on the front of my card. This is an A2 size card, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And you can see I have the pink die cut there, and I'm just using this as a layering layer, if that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and glue the white die cut on top of there, so that way it's 2 layers thick. Really what I wanted the pink die cut for is the letters, because I'm going to do some die cut inlay here in just a second. So now I'm going to glue the whole heart piece to the front of my card. And you could do this with a liquid adhesive, or you could do it with double-sided tape adhesive before you die cut out your piece. I went ahead with liquid adhesive because I wanted to be able to kind of wiggle it around on my card. And you can see there's that stamp set. I just have it set down there so I can get a sense of where I want to put the heart on my card. And now I can do all of the inlay. So you see I'm putting a little bit of glue there on the inside of the L, and then I'm just using my jewel picker tool here actually to pick up my little die cuts, and then I use the pokey side to kind of press them down in there. It works really, really well. I've gone on and done all of the letters as well as the exclamation point and the hearts, and then I did keep the little inset piece of the A as well as the inset piece of the O. I think that just kind of finishes the look here. Now I can stamp out my cute little beavers and a couple of those hearts. I'm just using an acrylic block to stamp the beavers, and then I'm going to put the little heart stamp on the tip of my finger, and I'm actually just going to tap it in the ink and then tap it on the paper. This works really well for tiny stamps. It's kind of my preferred way to stamp out any kind of little stamp. So I stamped that out 4 times, and now I'm going to color in my beavers. I'm using E53, E57, and E59, and I'm just doing varying amounts of those colors. And you can see it's going to create kind of this warm chocolatey brown coloring for the beavers. And then for the nose, I'm going to use E49. And for the cheeks at the very end, I will come in with some R20. For my hearts, I'm doing RV000 and RV02. So you can see here I'm doing a technique where I put a little bit of the darker brown onto my glass mat, and then I use the lighter brown to pick it up. And that gives me an in-between color between the two, which I can kind of blend out to the light color. I think it just helps create sort of a soft glow. I've been doing it a lot more recently, so definitely give that a try if you are trying out different ways of using your alcohol ink markers. Now I can use the coordinating dies and cut those out. I've got a little white gel pen here, and I'm just putting a tiny dot right in the center of the cheeks. I think that adds a really cute, nice little accent to any little critters that you've got cute little pink or red cheeks on. And now I'm gonna go ahead and put my little hearts on the front of the card. I have 3 that I am going to pop up here with some foam tape. The beavers are also popped up with some foam squares, and that last heart I'm actually going to put on the inside of the card, and I'm going to put it over the heart in the sentiment. So I've just added some liquid adhesive, and I'm going to cover that heart up. I think it just adds a nice little touch. Bringing in some unicorn stickles. I believe they're unicorn. I'm not sure. Just the cute glittery ones. I really, really love this for some added bling on a card. I've got that on those 3 hearts, and that's going to finish up my first card. Isn't it cute? I really love how it turned out, especially with the fun pun on the inside with the sentiment. So the other new release stamp set is You're the Zest. This is a really cute set as well. It has this adorable little lemon that you can add faces to. I'm not going to add any faces to it on my card because I'm actually going to create my own pattern paper here. So I'm just turning the lemon back and forth, trying to stamp it down to make sure the least amount of white space is showing. So I'm sort of fitting it into all the different little spots. And then I take it right off the edge of the paper. That is the key to make a stamped piece of paper look like it is true pattern paper, is take it off of the edge. You don't want to leave it. So I initially thought I was going to put a heart piece over this. I ultimately don't end up doing that, so you'll see in just a moment I do finish stamping out all of the lemons so that it takes up all of the white space. I'm coloring the lemons in some yellows. I'm starting out here with Y08, and I'm just taking it along the bottom there, and then also on the top right hand side of the lemon. And then I'm going to bring in the Y17, which is a bit darker, almost a little orangey of a yellow, and I'm just dotting it in those same areas. Now I'm going to bring in the Y06, and I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm going to pull out that yellow, blend it out towards the center, and then you'll see I'm going to also pull in some Y02 in a moment, and that's going to be my highlight in the center of the lemon. This is what helps it give that 3D effect. You start from the dark and then work your way in towards the light. For the leaves, I used YG06 and G07, and for the stems, I used E35 and E37. So you can see there, I finished out the entire piece. I love how this looks. I think this is the first time I have ever actually used a piece of fruit to create pattern paper, and I just love it. So you should give it a try. Pull out fruit stamps that you have. I don't know. It seems kind of weird, right? I want a piece of fruit pattern paper, but it works especially with the silly little puns that Lawn Fawn likes to include for their sentiments. So I cut out the Love Ya giant outline die again in white cardstock, and this time I'm going to back it with a piece of vellum. So once I get that glued down, I'm going to go ahead and use my O, and I'm just using that to figure out where I need to put the center of that outline of the O. So I didn't glue down the actual O, but I am going to glue down this piece here on the inside of the O. So that way you are left with the negative space once you pull it out. And I'm just going to use a little pokey tool to help myself get it out of there once I have that center piece glued in. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing with the A. Now there's a lot of different things you could do with vellum. If you wanted to, you could flip this over and color it with Copic markers, and that would look really cute, give it kind of a stained glass effect if you wanted that. Or you could do some different kinds of heat embossing on this vellum and just sprinkle in embossing powder and melt those spaces. There's lots and lots of different looks you could create here. I went kind of simple. I just did the white with the vellum backing, and that's just because I had so much going on with my gorgeous pattern paper look that I created that I didn't want to have it compete. So I just left this in all white. Once I've got that trimmed around the edges, I can go ahead and add some foam tape. Now you could also do this by cutting out multiple of the die cuts and just gluing them together. I wanted to just use the foam tape because it was quick and easy, and I didn't want to spend the time going and die cutting several more of the hearts here. So I'm using Heffy Doodle foam strips. I love these. They are my favorite. I use them all the time. So I definitely recommend trying them if you struggle at all with shakers. They are my favorite. So you just bend them around the edge before you push down and commit. It makes the whole process really easy. So now I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment. I've got a little strip of black cardstock about 1/2 inch wide, and I'm using some VersaMark embossing ink. I'm going to stamp that down on there, and then I'm going to heat emboss this in white. I think it'll look really nice against that bright yellow of the lemons. So this sentiment says, "You're the zest." Get it? Ha 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 ha. Yeah, I think it's adorable. I love silly little puns like this. They kind of remind me of dad jokes. So I'll take it. I think they're fun. Now I'm adding some double-sided tape to the back of it there, and I'm going to put it across the bottom of the card about 1 inch of the way up, and you'll see I'm going to use my glass mat to help me find the positioning. So I find that super duper helpful, but you also could put a ruler across the top of this if you're trying to make sure it's nice and centered. A lot of people will use T-rulers. I just like using my mat. I think it's just as easy. I just start with one point and then go all the way across so that it hits at the same line visually on the other side. Now I'm going to glue the entire panel down to the front of my card. This is another A2 sized card, so that's 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. And I'm just going to use the liquid adhesive because it's fairly easy to maneuver and work around to make sure everything gets lined up nice and straight. Next, I can remove the release tape and pop down my Love Ya piece, and I think it looks awesome with that vellum. It just makes it so that you can still see those lemons back there, but they are not distracting from the Love Ya. So I'm going to go ahead as well and add something on the inside of this card too, because I want it to tie in with the front. So I went ahead off camera and did another 1/2 inch black strip, and I used the other sentiment, which is Squeeze the Day, and then I colored one more lemon, which I used the coordinating die to cut out, and again just put some double-sided tape on there. You could use liquid adhesive. I just happen to have it out on my desk still. I don't know if you guys do that. Sometimes I just grab whatever's closest, and I'm going to pop that right next to the inside sentiment, and that's going to complete this card. I really like this card. I love it. Even though I didn't use the cute little faces on the lemons, I still really love it. So I hope you guys picked up a few tips and tricks today. Thank you so much for joining me. Please be sure to like and hit that subscribe button so I can continue bringing you more crafty content in the future. Until next time, happy crafting.